So how far would you go to save an endangered parrot? A small donation? A large donation? Maybe you'd spend a week in the wilderness nailing up some, special nesting boxes for them. You might let some live in an aviary near your house. Maybe you'd be prepared to hand feed them in their special foods. All these things, I'm sure many reasonable people who are interested in preserving parrots will be happy to do. But what about letting one fuck your head so it could you could harvest its semen? So, welcome to the heartwarming tale of Sirocco, the parrot, and a very special hat.
It's time for a little bit of science. I'm Will Grant, an Associate Professor of Science Communication at the Australian National University.
And I'm Roderick G. Lamberts, a 30-year SciComm veteran with the mind of a teenage boy, as I think has once again made apparent already.
And today, as well as parrots doing things to your heads,
we have a nice ongoing fun with animals story.
I've got some more fun with animals as well.
Ooh. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we can high-tech max our whisky production, particularly in the Scotlands.
Nice. And I also have some trucking news. Finally, science and trucking getting together at last.
Anything that has trucking in it, I'm in. I'm just in. It's because it's just got to be awesome, unless you're actually a trucker, which I think would be a terrible job. And I'm glad you're out there, truckers.
No. Depends.
It'd be a hard job.
Depends. It would. Yeah.
That's what I mean by terrible. I think it'd be like sitting down for hours and hours and hours.
Listening to podcasts.
Stay awake.
Listening to podcasts.
I know, and I know you listen to us right now.
Exactly.
Listening to podcasts.
Exactly. That's what I'm suggesting to you.
Oh, no, that's a good part of it. But every time I do long trips and I see these guys getting out of their trucks after driving for 48 years straight and looking cross-eyed, and usually many of them are fairly
Rod, I'm trying to steer you off this topic because that could be a chunk of our listeners.
I'm saying I feel for you.
Off.
I feel for you. I feel for you.
They're beautiful.
They are beautiful. Without them, we'd all be dead.
Without Trucks Australia strops.
Stropping Australia, stropping in its straps.
Anyway.
So the Kakapo parrot, it's a very unusual parrot from the New Zealands. It's a specific kind of species. They're kind of moss green. I mean, have you heard of these, Will? I don't know.
I know them very well, but listeners don't. So I am basically
but you're as a parrot fetishist yourself, I know.
Yes, I'm basically a parrot fetishist, but I don't talk about it. So just you tell me what they look like.
Well, you shouldn't. A true fetishist likes to keep it close to their chest. Yeah, mossy green. They kind of have these fuzzy chops. They almost look. Some have described them as being a little bit like oldie timey gentlemanly with their fuzzy chops. They're unlike other parrot species. They're flightless. They're half a metre to 65, 70 centimetres long. Like they're big. They're the heaviest parrot in the world.
No, but that's like beak to tail. Like I feel like, the tail can be an extravagant bit of kit. Like, you're extending your length by at least double with a birdie tail.
Don't you count your hair?
No, it's like
height?
a dude. I mean, this would be impressive. But if a dude had like a metre and a half of mohawk, you wouldn't say that the dude is like 3
He's 2.5 metres tall.
I'm sorry, that's you wouldn't say that. It would be impressive, but I don't know. Big long tail feather.
Well, look, this is what the scientists say. I'm just reporting on the sciences. Right. If you want another version of big, the males can weigh up to 4.5 kilos, which is fucking heavy for a parrot. Females can get up to 2.5 kilos. So the boys are the size of a cat, size and weight of a cat. That's a lot of parrot.
No wonder they're flightless.
Yeah, I think it might have been a smart decision on their part to say, let's not use them. Apparently also, which has nothing to do with this story really, they're the only parrot that exhibits Lek Breeding, L-E-K breeding. And you, of course, know exactly what that is.
Yes, but you could tell me again.
Yeah, others might not.
Lek.
It's basically, Lek breeding is where all the males gather together and doof or like nightclub, show off their moves, but there's no other extravagant need for the female. The females see them boogie, but they don't do anything like show off what good hunters they are or how big their ding-dongs are or the beauty of their nests. They just all get together and go, look at us, pick me, which is apparently a particular kind of breeding and mate selection.
Like a sort of display of the male folk, and the women just choose.
But in groups, like not as an individual, they get together in nightclub.
Yeah, like a red light district. It's like you can walk down the streets of Amsterdam, and the glass windows. You can say there is the male kakapo for me.
Yep, that's exactly how it works. It's pretty much what it's like on the outskirts of Auckland every Saturday night. Also, they're under threat. This is not shocking. I mean, they can't fly. They're fucking fat. They try and nightclub to impress the ladies rather than saying, look at me, I'm a good provider and blah, blah. So there are many efforts to bring them back from the brink, and one became very famous, 2012. So there's this parrot, this Kakapo, probably Kakapo, I think it's long A's. And, you know, for the Kiwi listeners going, Jesus, you're mangling our language.
Yeah, choose your pronunciation halfway through. That would be what you'd do.
Exactly. I know. It's showing that I can learn. So this parrot's called Sirocco, and apparently Sirocco had respiratory issues since birth and was therefore hand-raised by rangers.
Oh, lovely.
Which, isn't it? It's nice. It's nice. But it seems that because of this, he imprinted on humans very, very young and never showed any interest in getting jiggy with your lady parrots at all. Or in fact, he just didn't want to play with any of his kind. Just not interested. Didn't care. But he was very interested in human heads, obviously. So there's a famous BBC video of a presenter, and I think Stephen Fry was involved as well somehow. They're taking photos of the bird. So he's down crawling around on his elbows and stuff, taking photos in the wilderness. And this bird climbs up his arm and just starts going for it on the back of his head, just like clanging away. And as it was described in this one report, it engaged in a vigorous act of coitus. He was extremely excited to be. And we're not talking wham, bam, thank you, man. We're talking yeah. Like this bird was absolutely hammer and tongs. And so the New Zealand Department of Conservation, there's a vet there, and she thought, well, if that's what the bird's into and we need to preserve them, we'll go with what they like. If he wants to bang a head.
Was it one particular ranger's head? Like, was it one particular ranger?
No,
or was it just any?
It seemed a bit indiscriminate. A human head within range.
And can I just check? Did this act lead to more Kakapo babies? Because I feel like
we're going to get to that.
It's not normal path here to get the sperm out of the Kakapo boy onto the head of the ranger
by like combing it out of your hair.
I'm just saying, I can understand it might help with mental health issues, but it's not. I don't see the direct path. I don't see the direct path to solving more babies.
I'm just imagining going to the chemist and saying, look, I know you've got the knit comb. I need a different kind of comb. I need a comb that will just sort of take more gelatinous stuff out of my hair. That's beautiful. Or my children's hair. Anyway, so NZ or NZ Department of Conservation vet, a woman called Dr. Kate McInnes, she thought, if this is what Sirocco's into, let's go with what he's into. So she designed a dimpled semen collecting latex helmet, which for all intents and purposes looks like a whole bunch, like a hat made out of condoms. Just a whole bunch of little frangers on the noggin, basically. And it was inspired by an existing one. This is even better. So in Mauritius, there's a bird called the Mauritius kestrel, and apparently they needed to collect its baby-making juices. So the heroes of the kestrel would put this sort of helmet on its head, wander off into the landscape so the boy birds could get in there and have their way with it, leave their contributions, and off they go. So it's not untested, except the kestrel weighs 250 grams, Sirocco weighs 4 kilos.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
There's a little more leverage and musculature getting involved here. So yeah, basically the wearer would need more protection than just a bunch of frangers on the head, because they offer protection, but not from actual ballistic shock. So she, being in New Zealand, took a rugby helmet and modified that. My bet is it's basically a rugby helmet with a bunch of condoms stuck on it or similar.
Okay.
Pops it on a noggin, goes off into the forest and makes itself available. And Sirocco said, I'm DTF. I'm into this. That head is mine. So 3 nights in a row, she goes out to where Sirocco is, and he goes at it hammer and tongs. And apparently he's very enthusiastic, because most birds only take a few seconds. Like literally they get in there, they go cloaca to cloaca, and off they pop.
Okay.
He apparently would go for it for more than an hour.
Oh, jeez. Right. Right.
And would grunt the whole time he's doing it.
Is Sirocco... Is he the branch of the species that we want to save? I feel like there might be some other boys and girls out there in the Kakapo lands that maybe we could selectively breed, ones that aren't doing this. I think we're rewarding bad behaviour here.
I think you're right. Particularly, apparently, unconfirmed reports is he'd sort of lean in and go, "Oh, you like that, don't you?" So he's really not a good bird. He's not a good bird. But apparently, enthusiasm and success are not always neatly aligned. So he would, at least for these 3 sessions, more than an hour of him having a great evening, not a drop of semen was ever recovered. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Like after night 2, I'd be going, look, I've done my bit.
Is this some elaborate hazing ritual in Conservation New Zealand or something like that?
Oh, God, can you imagine? So you're new to the job, huh?
You got to get the interns out there and get their...
Pop this on your head, and then out you pop.
Look, if you had said like there is all of the material we need to save the Kakapo, then you'd be like, all right, I'll do it. You know, this is what the world needs. But
yeah, well, look, and it didn't work. So apparently now the helmet's in a museum in Wellington next to Chloe, who's a motorized decoy female for the similar purpose, which didn't work either. So these birds are. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, not only on the whole, maybe there's a better branch, but if it didn't work for others as well, I'm thinking certain creatures aren't doing anything to help their own cause here. And I'm wondering if these guys, I'm not against these parrots, but how far do you go?
Are you of the loser species school of thought? You're like,
no one dropped
dugongs, you know, like, come on, man, eat more than one thing. You deserve to
don't get hit by don't get hit by propellers of boats. I mean, come on. If they
there's
hurt
dangerous
you,
line of thinking,
them.
man. If you're just like winner species can survive, loser species off you go.
Well, there's winner and there's winner. But if you're literally going, I'm going to wear this thing on my head so that you can fuck it, so that we can then collect your semen and artificially inseminate the ladies of your species.
But what if we have ruined the world so much? We've ruined the world so much that normal behaviours don't exist anymore. So, you know, this whole who's the loser, who's the winner?
Sure.
Like clearly, there's winner species out there in the human constructed world. You know,
and there are
your pigeons and your rats and your foxes and whatnot.
I'm not saying definitively. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying there's got to be a time where you go, okay, guys, team meeting. How many more steps should we take before we try and save something else instead? I don't know. So cloning's been around for a long time, cloning animals in particular. Obviously, no one would ever clone a human because that would be illegal, terrible, and wrong. Tell a story I'll tell you next episode. Since Dolly the Sheep, 96. Dolly the Sheep, made a big splash. For those of you who are under 29, you probably never heard of it, but it was a big deal. They cloned a whole mammal, and the mammal was fairly successful in living and stuff. We've also replicated high-production dairy cows. Batik, there's this Batiki, I can't read my own writing, Batik cloning of, like celebrity pets and stuff because it's quite expensive. Yeah. Someone wants the same dog over and over again.
And I've heard the other one is police dogs. You get a particularly good police dog and you're like, there's companies that sell particular police dogs.
Ooh. Rovers 1 to 400.
Well, they're not called Rover. They got a tougher name, like Murder.
Spike. Or Murder. Here, Murder or Murdy. Duh. I think they might do a racehorse or two as well. I believe I've heard stories, but that's just what people say. But that's all pretty passé now. So I'm kind of surprised that this research, we haven't heard about this before, but some Japanese researchers wanted to check if you could infinitely clone a clone.
Just keep going. Yeah.
Just keep cloning. So clone of a clone of a clone and a clone till heat death of the universe. Can you just keep cloning the clone, the clone, the clone, the clone? And again, I'm shocked. I only read about this the other week, and I'm like, why is this the first time I've heard of this? I was surprised. So over the last 20 years, they've been cloning and then cloning the clone of a female mouse. 20 years they've been doing this, which is, it's impressive. It's impressive.
And so what's the generation of clones? Like they have to grow to maturity or something, or sexual maturity?
They can. In 20 years, they made it, they're up to 58 generations.
What's that? That's about 9 years per generation or something like that.
Like over 20 years, no, way less months. Yeah. Like they're mice.
It was a joke, man. It was a joke.
No, it's not funny. Do better. Oh, do the real maths. Be funnier. Amuse me through my cold. So first 25 generations, everything sailed along. So 205 to 2013, they recloned them. And they said the clones are basically quite healthy. Everything ticked along. And they're like, cool, we can keep doing this forever. It's going to be great. So they kept going. 27th generation, animals started to become a little less fertile and they gave birth to smaller litters. And for some reason, it's significant they had larger placentas.
It seems as soon as they said, we can keep doing this forever, like 2 generations later, it's like, no, you can't. There's a hint here.
Yeah, something's changed. So that's 27 generations. Also, at that point, a few more of them would die, just a few. That's 27. By the 57th generation, because fuck it, keep, double down, triple down, less than 1% of the clones survived.
Yeah, okay.
Less than 1%. 58th generation, which they got to, that's a total of about 1,200 clones altogether. Every single one was born alive and died the next day. Every single one died. And they showed no outward signs of physical abnormality, and they're not really sure why. And it seems to be, and I'm paraphrasing and summarising, I don't know, mutations and shit. Like, it's weird. This doesn't seem good. So the author, the senior author, Wakayama-san, he said it was, I think it's he, my apologies, I didn't double check. They said it was once believed that clones were identical to the original, but it has become clear through this study that mutations occur at a rate 3 times higher in offspring than those born through natural mating. And of course, with clones, they keep on passing on those mutations repeatedly and unwatered down or undiluted. So worse and worse and worse. So without your genetic diversity-ness, these mutations snowball.
But that's interesting that there is more mutations in a clone than a sexual, because the point of sexual reproduction is to get more diversity, sure. But the fact that there is also more mutations at that point, like something else is driving that.
So I don't know any more about the details, other than in some cases they said the clones even lost entire copies of their X chromosome. So there's pretty fundamental stuff.
Yeah.
Sex determining chromosome. They did stop at 58. When everything died the next day, they kind of went,
well, it's kind of hard to do it.
I think we're done here.
If they're all done, that's
grabbing,
that's great news. Is it great news? Is it bad news? Tell me.
I don't know. I mean, the one take home is, for we, sexual reproducers, keep on rooting. If you don't want to turn out, sorry for the Americans, rooting means having the intercourse. We probably need to keep on doing that, or at least mixing our genetic backgrounds, because there comes a point where all those sci-fi dystopian horror movies where you clone a clone, or that ridiculous, what was it called? I think it was called Multiplicity, a movie with Michael Keaton, where he cloned himself and then cloned himself again, and so he could get all his extra shit done and not get in trouble with his wife. Really classic 80s movie, of course. And by the time they got about the 10th clone, the clone was basically as stupid as a drunk child, which was hilarious.
That's the problem with an 80s clone where you're sort of an adult
they were
and
right,
out pops. No, but out pops an adult that's the same age as you, which is a very different sort of thing to the actual scientific clone, which is your DNA, but it is not the same thing. And it's clearly, 20, 30 years behind you in growth. So, but the problem with an 80s clone is the instant they're going to take your life.
The way they dress.
The instant you've been cloned, you have to kill them. Like that's...
It's true. It's true, because it's going to go wrong. At the very least, some hilarity will ensue until they do turn around and try and take your life and your wife. That's cloning for you. Don't photocopy your mice. That's the takeaway.
But don't worry about it now, because you can only do 58 generations.
Yeah, so 20's fine.
Well, today in trucking news, something actually really exciting has happened, because
every day in trucking is exciting.
A trucker in Europe has carried the world's lightest but potentially most expensive cargo for at least a 10-kilometre distance. And this is something that has never happened before and opens the door to something, perhaps really exciting.
But if it's the world's lightest, why do you need a truck?
Why do you need a truck? Well, they're baking it in for the future. Like, this is...
for when you get more. Heavier.
Yeah, we'll put a few more in. We might. Multiple reasons. You definitely need a truck for the container that is going here, though you probably could have got it in the back of a ute. I think your ute would have been fine, but it wouldn't have been as impressive in the press release if you could get it in the back of the ute. You can't get it in the back of the car.
Rod's ute carries world's lightest cargo. Come on. Writes itself.
Yeah, and I don't know that the ute advertisers can carry the world's lightest cargo. So what is this world's lightest cargo?
It can carry almost nothing. Yeah, what is it? Feathers.
Antimatter.
What?
Just
again?
Antimatter. So it's like matter, but it's the opposite. Weirdly.
It's like angry. It's matter with a black goatee and moustache. It's the evil
exactly.
Universe,
it's the Wario to the Mario. The Waluigi to the Luigi of matter. No, it's actually so basically the point of antimatter is that the electrical charge and the spin on the atoms have been reversed. So for every hydrogen, not for every hydrogen, but there is anti-hydrogen, where it has the electrical charge and the spin on it reversed. Weirdly,
that doesn't sound that hard.
Here's the thing. In physics, there's long been a question, why is there so much more matter than antimatter? So the theory was you could have just, at the Big Bang, popped out the same amount of both matter and antimatter.
Because there weren't the trucks to carry it.
Well,
there weren't the trucks to carry it.
But potentially there's ideas that the universe may have giant patches of antimatter and giant patches of matter, and where they rub into each other, they may have neutralized each other. But it seems so far that mostly the universe is matter. But
yeah, that is a weird
antimatter,
one. That is a weird one.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, so there are not very many places where you can produce antimatter in the world. So you need something like you need a particle accelerator or a particle decelerator to
accelerate
smash atoms
for matter and decelerate
do...
for antimatter. Is that how it works?
I'm not sure. But you need pretty unique facilities. So this is CERN has one of the few, or I don't know how many there are, antimatter factories in the world. And when we're talking the amount that they can produce, getting to a kilogram is like, you are so off the charts here. So
we're talking,
in this
like
particular
centuries.
Well, probably, but I don't think. I mean, there's a bunch of key problems. You're basically producing tiny amounts. So this particular trucking incident, they had a cloud of 92 antiprotons. So,
okay.
So we're talking, you are not getting to a kilo. A kilo of antiprotons would be in the trillion. Don't count that number. But we had 92, no. And so if someone says they've got a kilo, then they'd be lying to you. Don't buy a kilo of antimatter from someone in the pub.
I'm so glad you told me that, because I was about to click and buy on the internet from Amazons. So thank you for warning me.
But not a jar, but in this, and this is actually, because what they want to be able to do is produce antimatter in an antimatter factory. So this might be at CERN, but there are other facilities. Well, the problem with the factory is the production of the antimatter makes the other sensors in the experiments that you might want to use it for actually throws them out of whack. So because there's large magnetic fields, there's a bunch of things that are happening in the factory that mean you can't use it as precisely as you would if you had it in another scientific experiment down the road.
So as in the production of it fucks them up, or the use of antimatter fucks it up, or is it a little bit of
the production facilities can't be isolated because you're dealing with huge magnets, huge facilities that mean that if you're doing a hypersensitive sort of experiment, you're smashing one proton into an antiproton or something like that, that you wouldn't be able to detect it nearly as cleanly as if it was more isolated from the production facilities.
Okay. So you actually need a clean source. Or clean source machinery. Okay.
Right now, you would have to use it there. You'd run your experiment because you can't actually move it around very much at all. But this is the development that now they've built a fridge-sized box that includes.
Is it a fridge?
A fridge. No, well, it is a fridge. Yes, it is. It is a fridge because you do have to keep them at not absolute zero, but 8 degrees above absolute zero. So really quite cold. So you need facilities to keep it cold, and then you need magnets to make a magnetic bottle to trap the antiprotons in there. So it's going to be super cold, super magnety, and basically fridge-sized, because you want to be able to get it through doors and you want to be able to move it around. So yes, it theoretically could get into the back of your ute, but here is the new facility for the Dan Brown novel. It's about a fridge-sized sort of thing, can trap the antiprotons, and then you can drive
much
them around.
Harder to smuggle under your papal robes. To be fair, though, that would kind of take away the drama.
A little scroll. Like what are those? What's another Dan Brown novel? What are those ancient codex things?
That tells you that actually Jesus, the Holy Grail's a French chick.
Yeah. I filled my codex full of antiprotons.
Sorry.
Jesus is French.
Yes. Or his daughter is.
So they drove it from their facilities. They went for a 10K lap around town while the lead researcher...
Yes! Blowing the horn, doing the trucker thing.
No, I think they were driving fairly carefully because you know, they're worried that, okay, the disturbing of the road, you know, maybe it's going to wobble around and the magnetic bottle's not going to be able to hold them very well. The power source for the helium cooling wouldn't work very well, all of those kinds of things. So the lead researcher's driving behind, checking an app on his phone the whole time to see if we're getting any of the
kids today never pay attention. Oh, okay, that was a related app, not like Spotify.
He's paying attention. Well, he's paying attention to the antiprotons, not necessarily to the road, but maybe he's got a research assistant driving and he's he's checking.
Imagine that. Here's your first job as a research assistant. Take the keys. We're going to drive antimatter around Geneva. It's going to be cool. 10 Ks.
And they got it back. Now, so that was just a 10-kilometre trip. And it seemed that, I don't know if they have exactly the 92 antiprotons, but the census seemed to be that they kept them all in there.
What, they may have lost some?
Maybe.
Well, no, man. There were 92 when they loaded it up. I don't know why there's only 87 now. Shut up. You stole it.
Shut up. Fell off, mate.
Yeah,
whatever.
What are you going to do?
Whatever. 10% lossage.
Road tax, but with a Swiss French accent. Exactly.
So there you go. You are now happily able to drive antimatter around the streets of Europe. Anyway, I don't know what the road rules here in Australia are, but
it's okay. It's okay if you're in the great outback. You can drive some from Coober Pedy to Bathurst, but most other roads you need approval.
Yeah,
that's what I hear. Yeah, I love it. So you like whiskey? Don't you, Will?
I do.
You drink a whiskey? And you like the whiskey that doesn't have an E in it, of course.
I can never remember which one's which.
I think the one you
I
like
think the trick is to go
E.
deliberately wrong, and then the Scottish people get angry and the Irish people get angry, and then we're all happy.
Yeah, that's what I do with, always ask someone if they're Canadian, not American, because you just, it's safer. Although nowadays it's even worse. Anyway, so commercially viable whiskey probably needs to be mature in a barrel at least probably 3 years, like some time. And that would be a youngie. And it's a barrel aging, and I know you know this. It's a barrel aging that helps the flavors become more sophisticated and the woods interact with the liquids. It's all part of the magic. There's a big problem, which is leakage, and there's two kinds of leakage. Two kinds. One is liquid, as you'd expect, but the other is evaporation.
Liquid doing what? Like leaking out of the barrel? There's
leakage out of the barrel, but there's also, they call it leakage when it evaporates through the barrel walls, or if there are little gaps and things. So this is not unexpected, and apparently the Scots at least call this some evaporation. They call it the angel's share.
Oh yeah.
So that's
the angels.
Exactly. It's the sacrifice that you offer to the lords and mighties upstairs for your delicious whiskies. So the angels, they say on average take about 2% of a cask's volume per year through probably evaporation, but possibly also liquid. Some distillers have in the past tried to deny the angels by wrapping the barrels in plastic.
Seriously?
Yeah, I know. No. It just feels wrong, right? Yeah, it feels wrong.
Well, look, like, why are you saving money there? Like, come on, buddy.
I don't think it caught on.
I'm not religious, but I feel like you're kind of tempting fate here. Like,
this is exactly my reaction too. And I looked up a couple of sources about how many people do it and whether you should or shouldn't. And no one said it didn't really work. They all just kind of petered out with sort of, no, don't wrap your whiskey barrels in plastic. It's just and that's even before microplastics were considered. So I mean, your reaction was mine as well. It's like, that doesn't sound right. So it's not cricket or golf or whatever the Scots play. Anyway, so high levels of evaporation particularly can visibly drain a barrel in ways you wouldn't expect, particularly if you just leave it sitting there, and it can change the flavours of whatever's left inside. Evaporation can speed up when barrels are damaged when they're manipulated. The metal hoops that hold the staves, I think they're called, of the barrel together, can sometimes loosen a little. The stopper in the old bunghole can sometimes wiggle around a bit.
Yeah, if you take that out, then
you don't want it. I think that's more than leakage. That's more than the angels. That's the devil stealing. Also, natural expansion and contraction of the timbers can cause at least some gaps to allow some whiskey steam. It's probably a nice way of drinking whiskey. Anyway, traditionally warehouse workers they'd walk along and they'd tap on the barrels to kind of get a feel for how full or lack of full they are.
Like you can see where the hollow bit is or the full.
Well, let's hear it like a duck, 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 duck. Like you do when you're doing your stud finder in the walls. You tap, 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 tap. It sounds different. You go, okay, we've lost 6 whatever Scottish whiskey units are. 6 down, I think is what they call it. You can tell then by the thump, etc. But in mega warehouses like the one that Dewars is made, or one of the many that Dewars is stored in to mature, which I didn't know this. Did you know Bacardi owned Dewars and many Bacardi's one of the biggest spirit company on the planet.
I just assume they're all owned by each other. I
always assume Asahi owns everything.
And they're all owned by the Pentaveret at the top. I just think no one owns,
No, there's no unique brands anymore. It's all one brand. Anyway, so there's lots of Dewars. So they have apparently on average 100 warehouses full of aging barrels, possibly 25,000 casks in each of these 100 warehouses, which they live for 3 to 12 years. And that's just for Dewars.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of whiskey out there lurking and waiting as the angels, rub their fingers together and go, ooh, I can't wait for my share. And so the problem is that they can't have dudes just walking around tapping on the barrels, because the way they do it, they store the barrels upright instead of lying down, which apparently matters, but also they stack them right up to the ceiling. And that's tall. We're not talking 2 barrels. Yeah, we're talking multi-mega levels.
So you're going to say they've invented like a long stick?
A ladder, yeah, they got a ladder. This is the invention of the ladder. Duck, duck, duck. Honestly, I think the reason that was my first thing, just get a fucking ladder. But it turns out, they're so squished in together that you're not really walking. I think. But anyway, so the only way they can really tell if there's been leakage is once they pull them out to blend them and bottle them and do. So it's like, it turns out that one's half empty. That's a bummer. So Bacardi went to the National Manufacturing Institute of Scotland and said, what do you reckon? How do we get better at this? The knocking thing won't work. We need something else. And they, of course, come up with the solution for them, which was go get yourself a Boston Dynamics Spot robot dog.
A robot dog?
Yeah.
I was not going to guess that. I thought you were going to say it's like lasers, or it's like a new version of sound listening or something like that. Robot dog.
No. Go to Boston Dynamics, get a robot dog. But modify it. Okay. I mean, it only cost $100K. They don't give a shit. That's pocket change. So they modified it. They 3D printed an arm that had an ethanol sensing sort of electronic nose that could sniff for fumes on the robot dog. So that's what they bought one of those and they modified it up with their 3D printer. And apparently this guy called Angus, he's Bacardi's whiskey category director. There's a job. You're wasting your time as an academic. You could have been the whiskey category director.
Oh,
next time. So he says the robot dog, this is his quote, it moves with some pace and it makes that horrible horror movie floor scratching sound as it chases around the room. Yeah, like this, and louder and heavier. So it runs around.
One of the problems you mentioned to me is that they're all up very high and they're squished together. Can the dog solve that?
No. So what happened was, first up, what it does solve is it's very good at checking out the casks that it can reach. Reach.
Great. We can solve all the problems like on the floor. That's great.
Yeah, and they're like, look at that, 10% of the casks were getting some kind of, they need some maintenance before it all starts draining away. And they're quoted as saying that we found enough leaks to make it worthwhile to continue what we're doing. But as you well noted, the max climb on a dog is 1.5 meters, or its reach. So maybe we're talking 2 barrels. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's okay. They solved that problem, or they may have, because they found a spider robot that can climb. Which, what are you doing? And also, Stuff of Nightmares squared. Like this, you imagine going to the whiskey factory or the whiskey maturing harbour, and you look at it and you go, "This is so exciting!" And then the Stuff of Sci-Fi Nightmares comes running at you and sniffs you for ethanol.
This is press release backwards science. Like it's like we solved half a problem, and someone in there is like, "Can you put a robot in just because we need to seem high tech?" Like,
yes, we can.
I really don't think this was necessary. I think stick would have been fine. Pay me $100,000 and I will give you a stick and you can tap on high.
I'll throw in a ladder for $98,000. So yeah, they come to the end of the article. This is in Wired, and they said also we might start using drones. You're like, no shit. They already use drones to check security around their warehouses, to check out damages to roofs and fences. So it's like, yeah, why didn't you just go straight for drones then, fellas? Or build a couple more warehouses with slight gaps between the rows and ladders. Although the idea of the spider with the bionic nose crawling over the barrels does kind of excite me. I'm thinking they'll turn it into a terrible made-for-television movie, but There you go. Your whiskey now is unchanged by the fact that there's a robot in one warehouse in Dewars.
Well, that's great.
That's what you need to know.
I'm glad that robots are helping us make whiskey because, you wouldn't want any tradition in any of this kind of stuff. A little bit of science is the place where you get your little bit of science.
Just a little.
I'm Will Grant.
I didn't know we did our names at the end.
Yeah, you can do names at the end. We're mixing it up, man.
I am Rod
Anyway,
Lambert, the same guy.
Give us some comments and some feedback. You can write to us at cheers@alittlebitofscience.com.au.
Yeah, and show us, send us pictures of your robot dog improving your life in ways that you didn't need. That'd be cool. Or other people's lives. Just send it to that email address.
Doing all the low jobs that you can't not reach to.
Yeah, which 1.5 meters. What human could get that high?
Something?